Hi, my name is Lydia Kasopoulos, and I'm a strategy and emerging technologies advisor with a deep passion for body data tracking and human performance. This set of healthy aging protocol interviews delves into meaningful human connection. I'll be asking people what is meaningful to them in relation to human connection and how they go about cultivating meaningful connection as part of their personal healthy aging protocol. I hope you find this to be of interest. Hi, Monika. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me about your healthy aging protocol and meaningful human connection.
Very happy to be here. Thank you, Lydia.
So, first, I thought we would start off with a little bit about you. Tell me about you.
About me, well, I am a writer, I'm a curator, I'm a community builder. I recently started an initiative called Sharing Our Loneliness. So I'm exploring, I guess, the depth of this phenomenon called loneliness in our societies and how it affects not only our personal lives and our health and our well-being, but really sort of our larger societal makeup and sort of the challenges that we're dealing with on a political level and so forth. So I'm very curious, and I just started doing that out of my own interest, I guess, in the topic, and also because I saw it coming up here and there with the people that I was surrounded by. So in a way, seeking community somehow, ended up me with.
What an interesting thing to be interested in, and also particularly for you with your background. It's a very unique perspective that you bring.
Yeah, I hope so. I guess the idea with sort of exploring loneliness, in essence, is also very connected to
Mhm.
how can we come together again, or how do we come closer to ourselves actually and each other. So in a way, it is a different side of the same coin, perhaps, that I'm exploring right now.
That's really nice. And so, what is your healthy aging protocol?
I guess I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest. Like the actual protocol, I know that I'm someone who really needs good quality rest and regeneration, just
Mm.
to keep within the balance of energy, because I'm someone who loves to do a lot and is ambitious and all of these things. But
Hmm.
rest is very important, I learned. And then also movement, I guess, generally speaking, whether that's through dance or yoga or whatever, keeping a practice where I'm able to move. And then also nutrition. I wouldn't say I'm very rigid when it comes to my diet. My nutrition, I'm a very pleasure driven person, but I am trying to be a little bit more aware of what am I putting into my body, and the amounts of caffeine and so forth. So that does matter. And I think overall, or the key element really is, I guess, the relationships and the quality of relationships that I'm keeping and I'm trying to nurture in my life. This is, I think, the cornerstone of my healthy aging protocol.
I love that. I think that's a really good segue into if relationships and the quality of these relationships are the cornerstone of your healthy aging protocol. Why don't we dive into what does meaningful human connection mean to you?
Meaningful human connection for me comes in three dimensions in a way. So the first one is the connection I have to the self, so to myself. How am I able
Hmm.
to remain connected with my values, with my ambitions, with my
Hmm.
boundaries, and how am I able to be mindful with who I am, what I need, and what I'm seeking in order to make the decisions of who do I want to surround myself with. And that brings me to the second
Hmm.
dimension, which is more around how do I connect with others meaningfully. So those others can be my
Hmm.
friends, my family members, romantic partner, other people in my life, colleagues, or even strangers or semi-strangers or neighbors. How am I able to generate a level of presence and genuine interest that I
Hmm.
can give to the other person in order to receive also a certain level of presence and interest and curiosity, really, out of which I think all meaningful connections can actually derive from. and how am I able to actually put in
Mm-hmm.
effort and nurturing those connections in a meaningful way, whether that is through conversation and through deeper conversation, or sometimes also through nonverbal or even silence. Like shared silence can be one of the most meaningful ways how we connect as humans, even though we do that very little in our busy lives. And then I think the third dimension for me is sort of the connection to the world. So with that, I mean, also the non-human beings in the world, nature, but then also
Mm-hmm.
the world at large, the community that we're in, the society that we are part of, and sort of the larger concept of this world, and being sort of aware of a critical mind, and also there being curious about the lives of others and the perspective of others, in order to reflect back on the privilege, for example, in my case, that I have living my life, that is very different from a lot of people's lives, probably. So I think that is also really important for me in terms of how I think of meaningful human connection.
So, if I understood correctly, these three dimensions are where and how you derive the meaning. Like it's the foundation with which you spring upon to build this meaning, and it starts with building it that connection with yourself, and then understanding how you like relate to others, and then that, in a sense, is also kind of like self-exploratory to understand how you connect with others. And then lastly, you are also kind of like reflecting on yourself, reflecting on the world, connecting with the world. And that includes species, planet, earth, and all of that. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome. So with this kind of foundation, which is where how you derive meaning as you proceed to connect. And I was talking about meaningful human connection, but I love how you've extended outside human, and it was about like
Mhm.
the planet and species for you is how you kind of charge yourself to engage. And so that said, how do you go about creating meaningful connection with other humans? So like what does it look like in practice? The applied version of your three dimensions. What does that look like?
For the first dimension, so with the self, I think spending time alone is crucial. So, in a way, almost seeking this
Mm-hmm.
loneliness, perhaps even sometimes, I think is really important, without distractions, without social media, without a podcast, just being with yourself and your thoughts. For some people, that is meditation. For me, that is going on a long walk and observing, the world around me, but listening to my own thoughts.
Yeah.
Then I think the second dimension of how I relate to others, I try to really make time for like quality time with my friends, for example. And I come to realize that I really appreciate sort of one-on-one conversations, because I can go deeper into where the other person currently is, what challenges they have, and we're able to engage in a deeper conversation usually than I'm able to do in a group setting. But that's me, right? Because I have this introverted side of me, I think, where I get also very quiet and sometimes very overwhelmed in group situations where I'm like, where am I? Like, what am I trying to, who am I trying to engage with? And it becomes a little bit like that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
meaningful connection for me is sort of creating a space where I know one-on-one for dinner or whatever it is, I'm able to focus really on the person I'm with and being present,
Mm.
and really trying to cultivate this sense of listening. So really listening from a place of, where is that person coming from? What are they experiencing? What are they feeling? What am I
Mm-hmm.
hearing in terms of feelings and needs? So I've started to learn nonviolent communication, and that whole theory and practice is really about feelings and needs at the end, and then making sort of requests. And it really helps to stay with the other person and their
Mm.
experience of what it is that they're telling you, rather than merely keeping the conversation afloat and like responding with a smart thing, and then actually being much more with yourself than the other person. So I think that. And then also in terms of group settings or like meaningful connections overall, I love to bring people together. So I love to throw gatherings, and that sounds very big now, but it can be just a, way to invite a few more people in to the group to an activity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ice skating. Let's go have hot pot. Let's, I don't know, go to a Christmas market in December. Let's go see a theater. Who might also be interested in that? And I invite other
Mm-hmm.
people in. So it becomes like an activity, a joint activity that we do together. And we have something to also talk about. We have something to debate about, potentially even. And it creates a different kind of dynamic in terms of how connections then can happen between my friends or the people that I know, or some people that I just invited, right? And then new kind of connections can happen, which is a different way from this very in-depth one-on-one focus on one person kind of connection. And then I think another element that I want to mention is also the ability to have difficult conversations and resolve conflict is equally a part of maintaining and nurturing meaningful connections. Because yes, we're all about sort of hopefully nurturing new connections, making them, last for a long time. But the reality is that also often we grow apart, or something doesn't work anymore, or we just realize we're in different phases of our lives. So we need also to come to terms on how to not disconnect, but like gently close a relationship that has come to an end on some level. And I think that is also important, as is nurturing connections that grow further and beyond. And then I think with a world that is more difficult. So apart from, keeping up with what is happening in the world on a very general level, I think seeking then conversations and discussions about things that are happening and that I have no, final opinion on, to seek conversations about that and gather new perspectives and be like, hey, what do you think about that actually? And let's have a conversation about what's happening. And then also putting myself, I guess, purposefully in situations or surroundings that are foreign to me. So that can come through volunteering or other kind of civic service activities. It can come through just visiting a different neighborhood and getting in touch with people there, or striking up a conversation with the barista that is working there in the coffee shop or whatever. Like, I think that can come also from very small micro interactions, these levels of human connection.
Wow, there's so much there that I'd like to pull the thread on. First, I really loved about the group part where you're intentionally trying to bring people together, but you're also intentionally curating experiences that you can use to have conversations with and engage with others, which I think is really powerful because that's an important part when you connect with another person. You're connecting about a story, a shared experience, something. And so you are facilitating the possibility for these conversations to take place, which I think is really cool. And the idea of like mixing people that that creates kind of new meaning and shared experiences. I also liked what you said about conflict, because that's something that I think when we think about like connecting with people, that's like the last thing we think about. But I think you make such a good point to say that in meaningful human connection, like, I mean, and also, like you said, if you want to be like long-term and sustainable, at some point, there would have been some sort of potential conflict, little, small, either way, that would have needed to be overcome in order to maintain and continue this, meaningful connection. And you're right about being able to work on the ability to deal with these types of conversations. And I loved what you shared about the nonviolent communication work that you have done and that space that you're growing in. And then another thing that I think, again, people don't think about when we say, nurturing meaningful human connection, it's not about like cutting people out. but yet you're bringing that to this conversation, which is really important because, like you said, we are growing and evolving, and there's times that some people need to be let go, and it could be for a long list of reasons. It doesn't have to be because there was a conflict. It could just be because people have moved on in different directions in their lives. But in doing so, you create space for the meaningful connection with those who do relate. And so I do think it's really powerful to point at that and say, you need to like let go and close. And that actually gives you the space to open up for meaning. And so I want to now go back to the one-on-one conversations, the deep conversations that you said that you enjoyed having one-on-one, that's very meaningful to you. Now, it's very meaningful to me as well. I really enjoy them. And I want to ask you about this contemporary phenomena of the world moving very, very fast. And this is something that someone's observed decades ago called the time-space compression, whereby technology has over centuries compressed our space. So with ships and then planes and then now the internet, geography is like much smaller than it was centuries ago. But then time also is becoming compressed because we can respond to people, talk to people in much faster speeds and intervals than we used to before. And so things do feel like they're speeding up. And then my observation with COVID is that that's accelerated that because we are able to remote work, but we have all these information technologies that also speed up work in addition to them also speeding up our personal lives. So my question is, you talked about the one-on-ones. Given the way that the world's moving very fast, and you also alluded to kind of some of the socio-political challenges that can be a challenge in developing meaningful human connection. How do you go about overcoming these things to be able to have that time to actually have that one-on-one?
Well, first, I think, and that relates a little bit to the question of who are really the people that I want to surround myself with, and how much energy do I have to give and to receive equally. And I made a very conscious choice a couple, maybe 2 years ago or so, to really look at my circle of friends and say, okay, these are the people that I really, really, really deeply care about, and that I would love to sustain this friendship with on that level of depth and one-on-one in particular. And I've really reduced that circle, if you will, or like decreased it meaningfully to say, I cannot have, 15 friends that I want to engage with on a weekly level, one-on-one, in depth. It's just not. It's not going to be doable for me. But this is sort of the amount of friends. Not that it always has to be quantity, but like this is the number of friends that I'm able to engage with on a level where I feel I'm not, drained by it, or almost sometimes feel like pressure to like, oh, I haven't talked to that person in such a long time, and now I'm so in my thing, and everyone is busy. Like, no, but intentionally decreasing that very inner circle, if you will. And also realizing, yes, one-on-one is the way that I like to engage with them, and then making that time. And even, and what I've come to notice is that even if some weeks pass between the times that we see each other, we're still able to maintain that depth and that quality of conversation and connection eventually, because we have put in sort of on both sides the commitment to, yes, this relationship matters to us, so we will make time no matter what, even if we don't see each other for a longer time. And what I found also with friends that do not live here in the same city, or that I don't see that often, is that exchanging voice notes, like really long voice notes though, that are almost like a little podcast, works for me. So it's almost like I know some people hate it, but I love it because I have a few friends that are just, completely on the other side of the world. But I still want to hear how they're doing, and to listen, to someone walking around, a different city, just reflecting about what's happening in their lives and responding to you in this asynchronous way also gives you a little bit of more space, I guess, right, to respond in your time, wherever you are, and taking them on that little microcosmos that you're in, and still be able to have this one-on-one ping pong kind of situation, even though it's asynchronous. But that has worked for me.
That's so tremendously thoughtful because I love how you started with, I do an energy check on myself. And it's like, what is the energy I have to give? What is the energy I have to receive? And that requires a pretty serious level of self-honesty. And because, like you can have a huge to-do list and it's like, are you really going to get through it? And the same thing, you could say, I would love to like have all these people in my life in a super meaningful way. But then it's like, okay, well, what is the realistic capability that you have to be able to engage in the way that you want to engage? And I don't think it's very common for people to actually ask themselves, what is the energy I have to give? I really think that a lot of times it's what you said about like, oh, I haven't talked to them forever, I need to add this to the list. Instead of saying, okay, I like all these people, but I really need to look inward and say, what do I have to give this week? And also like, because what you're saying really is that you want to be present for them in that experience as well. So it's not just you receiving and enjoying, but you also want to be able to give that back. So I think that that's really amazing. And again, very, very thoughtful about how you go about all of that. And then the voice notes, I really like that because we have all these technologies available to us. We have video calls and texts and picture messages and the GIFs, and we've got like a million ways to communicate. And I think voice notes is something that people don't use as much, particularly in the long form that you're describing, the tag voice notes, like now it's go for it. And it sounds also beautiful to hear the other person's voice instead of just read the text and kind of like just assume the tone that they have. So with that said, you obviously have done a lot of thinking about these things, in your personal life. You've been a community builder, and now this topic of connection is now coming to the forefront of your life in this new initiative of yours, Sharing Our Loneliness. Could you just explain what exactly this initiative is, what your goal is? And you might be like, I'm still working on it, that's fine. But like, what your vision is for this and what your plans ahead are.
Yes. So I think my vision with Sharing Our Loneliness is to say, first of all, I want to create or contribute to having a more open and honest conversation about loneliness, and putting it, at the center of our attention as much as connection and human relationships in a way, because my hypothesis is that we all feel lonely at times, different levels. Some people really struggle with chronic loneliness and sort of the health implications that are related to it. I don't want to romanticize it at all. I just want to humanize it a little bit and say, look, this is something that is part of our human condition and of our human experience. And it seems to be something on a collective level that has gotten to a sense that really affects our lives, our relationships. And it's almost like a signal that we can pay attention to then understand what are the underlying needs. Why is it that we feel so alone or lonely in this very hyper-connected world, in the world where we have all the possibilities, it seems? So this is the first part, to really also gently destigmatize loneliness as a topic and bring it into conversation. And then the second really is to foster a third place in a way. I really like that idea of, it's not, your home, it's not your work, it's like something in between. It's a third place for coming together through your unique experience of loneliness, to say, you are experiencing loneliness in a way that I don't. However, I think there is a way that we are able to relate to each other through that experience of loneliness, that will open up questions about, yes, how it is that I want to relate with my friends? How much energy do I actually have, right, to give? How is it with my partnership and my work? Like, where do I actually feel like I have this sense of loneliness, and why is it there? And how can I learn maybe from other people? So I see that sharing our loneliness, as it is in the name, as really a way to bring people together through a perhaps currently less popular term or theme of loneliness, but something that really goes deep and that helps people reveal themselves to themselves, but also to each other in a different way.
That's a really valuable initiative and a very timely one. If anybody wanted to follow you or learn more about that initiative, how can they do that?
So they can subscribe to my newsletter, which is on Substack. It's just sharingloneliness.substack.com, or follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram. So my handle is just Monika Jiang, my full name. And yeah, stay in touch with that. And I'll be publishing more content, but then also invite people to gather online and in person.
That's amazing. And I've already been to one of your virtual sessions, in fact, the first one, and I really enjoyed it. And I look forward to more. And I hope that those who are interested will take a peek at your virtual events because they're really fun. Thank you so much, Monika, for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed hearing your perspective on this.
Thank you so much, Leah. Really a pleasure. Thank you for all your work.
This series is meant to capture personal stories of individual healthy aging protocols and is for informational purposes only, and it does not constitute providing medical advice or professional services. Those seeking personal medical advice should consult with a licensed healthcare practitioner.